Welcome back to the channel Starseekers and to episode 5 of my Dollar Deals series, a series where I delve into the absolute minefield that is the Switch eShop and select 5 budget titles and put them through the paces to see whether or not they're worth a purchase. Now you'll find my Dollar Deals playlist linked down below, so be sure to check out the other episodes in the series, as all of the games featured in them are usually on sale every month, at most every couple of months, and we've had some surprisingly good titles so far, as well as a couple of stinkers. But today I have 5 more games for you, so let's get right on into it, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to see more. So we're kicking things off with a bit of a weird one, to say the least, and a title which I've been meaning to play for quite a while now but never managed to get round to it. Boreal Tenebrae though also comes as this episode's viewer suggestion from Jeffrey, so be sure to drop your own suggestions in the comments below for a chance to have them featured in future episodes. Now, the game itself is an adventure game heavily inspired by classic PlayStation 1 era titles, so it comes with plenty of fixed camera angles, panning shots, and of course that fantastic PS1 low poly visual aesthetic, which really helps to sell the creepy horror elements and the strange and unsettling atmosphere of this one. But the story here is that the town of Boreal Tenebrae is dying, infected by some kind of strange sickness which appears to be linked to the appearance of these large cubes filled with static, and so it's down to you to get to the bottom of things. A bit of an obscure descriptor, I know, but honestly the narrative in this one is like a fever dream, and a big part of gameplay sees you piecing it together via abstract cutscenes and audio recordings as you jump back and forth between several different characters, each of which appear to exist in a different and often twisted version of the same world and appear to be inexplicably linked. Amongst them you have Sarah, a girl who appears to have started the whole mess and then has suddenly vanished, and her sister Bree, who is now searching for Sarah. But the world is filled with strange characters for you to interact with, and the game plays like a series of vignettes, each of which has you solving puzzles, gathering cassette tapes and DVDs to reveal the story, and collecting items, which are all mysteriously shared amongst all characters, so you'll be jumping back and forth between scenes and different characters trying to work your way forward. Now, after playing about an hour of the game, I can safely say that I'm still none the wiser as to what the hell is going on, but I am extremely intrigued to find out, and I've been enjoying the back and forth gameplay style, though I have to admit the menu in it is proving to be a bit of a pain in the ass. Now unfortunately this appears to be the first game in a series of games, so there's not really a conclusive resolution to this very unusual storyline, and it ultimately raises more questions than it answers. But apart from a few bugs here and there, it's a very well put together game which keeps it relatively light on the adventure elements, and fans of weird and wonderful adventure games should definitely give it a go. So we're sticking with the retro theme for our next game, as Macbat 64 takes inspiration from the classic platformers of the 90s, especially things like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64. However, unlike these titles, I was rather disappointed to find out that each of its levels is restricted to a very small enclosed area, and that gameplay doesn't really involve much platforming and instead focuses around some very simple puzzle solving. Now, the story sees you attempting to fix a water factory and restore production, but in order to do so, you first need to acquire 6 keys and defeat the evil watermelon who has commandeered the facility, and with the assistance of a pirate parrot, you'll be adventuring to a variety of different landscapes, many of which pay homage to other titles with their themes and Easter eggs, and I really enjoyed discovering these little nods to the classics. Gameplay though is very simple, so much so that to me it almost feels like the game was a test bed for mechanics to be used in a bigger title. Many of the puzzles are replicated across several levels, involving the collection of objects, pressing of buttons and the odd minigame here and there, but none of them offer any kind of challenge, which includes the platforming elements, as Macbat is able to flap his wings to fly upwards, which essentially nullifies these aspects. There is a single boss fight right at the end of the game, which alongside the mini games is perhaps the most unique and adventurous aspect of all. But on the whole, I couldn't help but feel a little bit deceived by this one, as I was expecting an N64 style platformer and instead got a series of very straightforward puzzles to solve and levels which took around 5 minutes at most to complete. So I'd say that if you have young kids and are looking for something to keep them quiet for an hour or so, Macbat 64 may be worth a purchase. But if like me you were looking for a spot of nostalgia, don't go in expecting too much from this one, as you'll likely come away feeling a little bit disappointed. Our next game, Body of Evidence, is one which I reviewed a while back now on the channel, and one which, despite its simplicity and jankiness, I actually had quite a bit of fun playing. Now, the game sees you playing as a cleaner, but you won't be scrubbing shit stains off toilets or hoovering hallways in this one. No, you'll be mopping up blood, disposing of bodies, and doing whatever you can to ensure no shred of evidence is left regarding the crimes that have been committed. How you go about this is generally up to you. There is a reasonable amount of freedom to scenarios which allows you to get a little adventurous with your methods, but in many cases gameplay is structured like a bit of a puzzle game, so you'll need to utilise the tools at your disposal and environmental features to work out exactly how you're going to get rid of evidence. And there are also some simulation aspects to the gameplay, with you doing a spot of mopping or plastering to cover up bullet holes and clear away bloodstains. Being a physics-based tile though, it does come with a certain level of hilarity and frustration, as the bodies and body parts you're shifting don't always play ball, and this can prove to be both humorous and annoying, as you're given a set amount of time in which to complete jobs, and so this aspect can make things a little difficult for you and mean repeat playthroughs of levels until you manage to get everything done. There is however some decent diversity to the game's scenarios, with them taking place in a variety of different locations, with one of my personal favourites being a sushi bar in which some kind of Yakuza massacre has taken place. And there's also plenty of dark humour to enjoy along the way, with a few nods here and there for pop culture fans to enjoy. Now admittedly you will be repeating the same kind of tasks in levels, with things like the lockpicking mechanics proving to be unnecessarily frustrating, and I'd say that on the whole it's not quite as adventurous as some other titles like Roombo First Blood or Serial Cleaner when it comes to the basic gameplay mechanics, but the scenarios do help to keep things interesting, and on the whole it's a fun little diversion which for $2 I'd say is well worth giving a play. So our penultimate game today is Agent A, a puzzle in disguise, and this is another one that I've been meaning to play, and one which after playing, I have to say I came away feeling thoroughly impressed with, especially for the price. Now I went into this one expecting a point and click adventure game of sorts, but what I actually got was more of an escape the room style game whose story centres around you, Agent A, pursuing an enemy spy to her secret hideaway and solving a series of increasingly complex puzzles in order to catch her and put a stop to her evil plans. The majority of the game though takes place throughout the enemy spy's extravagant getaway, and like all good escape the room games, you'll be searching for clues and items in order to solve puzzles, which then lead to more clues and puzzles, but rather than being confined to a single room, you'll frequently have to backtrack to previous rooms and locations, which I actually found to be both enjoyable and frustrating, as it really relies on you remembering where you saw a particular puzzle or what item you needed for it, and interactable objects or transitions don't really stand out very well, so there is sometimes a bit of random clicking involved to find a way forward. The puzzles themselves though are all pretty well put together, there's nothing overly complicated about them, and being a fan of puzzle games I can't say that I really felt challenged with any of them, but there is some decent variety to them and they're all very logical, with everything from basic item usage and trial and error to memory and number based puzzles, and some more interactive ones involving sliding objects or mechanical contraptions. Storyline wise, things are kept pretty obscure, intriguing you with snippets of information in the form of documents and animated cutscenes, and I really like the visual aesthetic of this one with some great low poly art and tidy looking animations, but overall I was just pretty impressed by the game. It's not overly complex and won't challenge you as much as something like The Witness, but it has around a 2 to 3 hour playtime, and at a monthly sale price of only a couple of dollars, I'd say that fans of the genre should definitely give it a go. So our final game today then is Beautiful Desolation, another title which I reviewed right here on the channel, and one which people have seen snippets of in the intros to these Dollar Deals videos and have asked about, so I figured I'd feature it in this one to help answer any questions about it. Now, the story in Beautiful Desolation finds Mark and his brother Don accidentally transported to a futuristic version of their own world in which the line between technology and humanity is blurred, with sentient religious robots now running the place and an uprising of transhumanistic tribes and leaders emerging to take back power. And if you're looking for something story heavy to dive into, Beautiful Desolation definitely fits the bill. There's a lot of different themes going on in this one and a lot of lore to absorb, which actually plays an important role in helping with progression. So it's actually necessary that you pay attention to it to avoid getting stuck, but it's also fully voice acted, which saves on the amount of reading you'll have to do. On the gameplay front, you'll be travelling back and forth between various locations, speaking with different characters to try and unravel what's going on and how exactly you can make your way back home, acquiring key objects and interacting with different environmental features, and obviously solving plenty of puzzles. And Beautiful Desolation plays very much like your classic 2D isometric adventure game without any of the pointing and clicking, thanks to a reworked control scheme. However, the controls are actually one of its major flaws, as whereas in the PC version your character would automatically pathfind its way through the game's complicated environments, that now becomes your job, which actually proves to be pretty frustrating. The Switch version also has a few performance issues, though I wouldn't say that they're really game breaking, and the dystopian sci-fi world of Beautiful Desolation still looks fantastic with some phenomenal artwork to the environments. And so on the whole, while it does have its issues and there is a lot of going back and forth, which unfortunately means a lot of load screens to sit through, there's still a lot to like about this one, especially if you're into your deep narratives and are a fan of the genre. But the game goes on sale for a couple of dollars every couple of months, and for that price I'd say it's still well worth picking up. And so that about wraps things up for another Dollar Deals video. So what if anything tickled your fancy in this one? Be sure to let me know down below, and don't forget to drop your own suggestions on games for future episodes. As always though, if you enjoyed this one, drop it a like, subscribe for more in the series as well as weekly game reviews, and until next time, thanks once again for watching, take care of yourselves, and game on.